Every wedding ring, every phone battery, and every X-ray machine on Earth depends on elements that no star like our Sun could ever make. So where do they actually come from? Iron is about as heavy as a normal star's core can build through nuclear fusion before the whole process breaks down. Everything past that point, silver, gold, platinum, thorium, uranium, needs something far more violent than a star quietly burning hydrogen. For most of the 20th century, astronomers genuinely did not know what that something was. The first real breakthrough came in 1957, when 4 astrophysicists published a paper so influential it just gets called B2FH, after their initials. They worked out that heavy elements form when atomic nuclei capture free neutrons one after another, building heavier atoms step by step. But that raised a new question. Capture them how fast and where? If a nucleus grabs neutrons slowly, with time to stabilize between each capture, astronomers call that the S process, S for slow. It happens quietly, inside aging stars over thousands of years. But some elements, including gold, platinum, and the radioactive metals thorium and uranium, need something else entirely. A blast of neutrons so dense and so fast that a nucleus can swallow dozens of them before it even has time to fall apart. That is the R process, R for rapid, and it needs a neutron density north of 10 followed by 23 zeros per cubic centimeter. For decades, the best guess for where that happens was a supernova, a massive star collapsing and exploding at the end of its life. Then, in 2017, something happened that changed the whole conversation. Gravitational wave detectors picked up the signal of 2 neutron stars colliding, one of the densest, most violent events physics allows. Telescopes around the world raced to watch the afterglow. What they saw was a wave of freshly minted heavy elements blasting outward, real-time proof that neutron star collisions can build gold and platinum in a matter of seconds. Astronomers nicknamed the event a kilonova, and by watching how its light faded and changed color over the following days, they estimated it produced something like several times the mass of the Earth in pure gold alone, along with even larger amounts of other heavy elements. It remains the only time humans have ever directly watched heavy elements being forged in real time, rather than inferring it from old starlight. So does that settle it? Is every atom of gold on your finger really from a neutron star crashed billions of years ago? Not quite. Some rare, unusually rapidly spinning supernova might also be capable of it. Even certain violent mergers between a neutron star and a black hole have been proposed. The truth is, astronomers still are not sure exactly how many different cosmic sites can trigger the R process, or how much each one really contributed. And there is only one way to get more clues. Find stars old enough to still be carrying the fingerprints of whichever event actually made them. Here is a strange fact about stars. The ones with the least amount of heavy elements are usually the oldest ones. That sounds backwards until you remember how the universe actually built up its chemistry over time. Right after the Big Bang, there was basically no carbon, no oxygen, no iron anywhere. Just hydrogen, helium, and a trace of lithium. Every heavier element, what astronomers casually lump together and call metals, even though most of them are not metals in the everyday sense, had to be forged later inside stars, then scattered back into space when those stars died. So a star that formed very early in cosmic history, before many previous generations of stars had lived and died, and polluted the surrounding gas, ends up strikingly poor in everything heavier than helium. Astronomers even have a formal label for the most extreme cases: extremely metal-poor stars, or EMP stars, where iron relative to hydrogen is thousands of times lower than in the Sun. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to look at something that is, chemically speaking, almost a living fossil from the first few hundred million years of the universe? That is basically what an EMP star is. They tend to sit out in the stellar halo, the big, roughly spherical cloud of ancient stars that surrounds the flat disk of the Milky Way where the Sun lies. Orbiting on long, looping paths instead of the tidy, nearly circular orbit our own star follows. Only a small number of them have been found and studied in real detail, because the fainter and older a star is, the harder it becomes to squeeze out a clean spectrum of its light. A lot of the credit for finding them at all goes to a mission most people have never heard of, the European Gaia Space Telescope, which has spent years mapping the precise position, motion and brightness of well over 1 billion stars across the galaxy. That massive catalog is what lets astronomers spot the rare outliers, the handful of stars moving fast enough, or sitting in exactly the wrong part of the sky, to be worth a closer look. So here is a question worth sitting with for a second. What happens when astronomers find one of these ancient stars that also happens to be unusually loaded with the rarest heavy elements the R process can make? You get what is called an R-Roman 2 star, and there are maybe a few dozen confirmed examples in the entire galaxy. Among the elements an R process event can build, two stand out for a very particular reason. Thorium and uranium are radioactive. Unlike stable elements, atoms of thorium and uranium slowly fall apart over time, decaying into other elements at a fixed, well-known rate. That is exactly the same principle labs use for carbon dating a piece of ancient wood or bone here on Earth, just applied to a heavier atom, stretched across a mind-bending timescale. In theory, if you can measure how much thorium or uranium a star has left, compared to how much it should have started with, you can calculate an age for the star itself. Astronomers call this cosmic chronology, literally using radioactive decay as a cosmic clock. The catch is that thorium and uranium lines in a stellar spectrum are incredibly faint. You need a star unusually rich in them just to have a shot at detecting the signal at all, which is exactly why finding a new, strongly enriched R-Roman 2 star is such a big deal. Everyone adds another working clock to a very short list. Which brings us to a star that was not even the one astronomers set out to find. A team working with the Very Large Telescope in Chile was actually hunting for something almost the opposite: metal-poor stars that looked suspiciously young. While sifting through candidates, they stumbled onto a faint point of light with a surprisingly fast sideways motion across the sky. At first it looked like just another interesting outlier. Then they actually took a proper high-resolution spectrum of it. The star even has a fittingly forgettable name for something this strange: TIC 170-1218-1, a string of digits from a decades-old sky catalog, with nothing about the label hinting at what was hiding inside its light. So what did that spectrum actually reveal once the team sat down and picked it apart, element by element? The iron content alone told them this was a genuinely ancient, extremely metal-poor star, about 3,000 times less iron relative to hydrogen than our sun. But the heavy elements were the real surprise. Europium showed up dozens of times more enriched relative to iron than the sun's own ratio. Thorium came in even higher. That firmly qualifies this star as an R-Roman 2 star, one of the most heavily enriched examples ever measured. To pin those numbers down, the researchers combined a long exposure from the UV spectrograph on the Very Large Telescope with more exposures gathered later using the Mike spectrograph on the Magellan Clay Telescope in Chile. Running the combined data through specialized modeling software, they measured the abundance of 33 separate elements in this one single star, an unusually complete chemical inventory. Unfortunately, even with all that light collected, the signal from uranium itself was just too faint to detect. So a full radioactive age calculation is not possible yet. What they could measure was how thorium compares to europium, and that ratio turned out to sit remarkably close to the value expected in the sun's own R process material, despite the two stars being separated by billions of years. Based on standard stellar evolution models, the team estimates this star is roughly 10 billion years old, give or take about 2 billion. Then came the part that turned this from an interesting spectrum into a genuinely strange story. By tracking the star's exact position, speed, and direction using data from the Gaia Space Telescope, the researchers reconstructed its orbit around the galaxy. This star does not move like a native member of the Milky Way's halo. Its orbit lines up almost perfectly with something called the Sequoia accretion event. Sequoia is the leftover trace of an entire smaller galaxy that collided with the Milky Way a very long time ago and got torn apart and absorbed. In other words, this star, sitting quietly in our sky right now, most likely was not born in the Milky Way at all. It was born in a completely separate galaxy that no longer exists as its own object. There is one more twist the team could not fully explain. This star is unusually poor in carbon, far more than normal aging alone would predict. A trait shared by only a handful of other extreme heavy element-rich stars ever studied. The researchers note this low-carbon, high-heavy element combination keeps showing up together often enough across different stars that it is probably not a coincidence. Though they stop short of claiming they know exactly why. They are also careful not to overclaim on the bigger question. This one star does not prove neutron-star mergers, rare supernova, or any single site is the true source of the R process. It is one more data point in an ongoing debate. What they do know is that with roughly 8 more hours pointed at this star using a large telescope, they might finally detect uranium directly and run that radioactive clock for the first time. The findings were published in April 2026 in the journal Astronomy and Astrophysics, led by astronomer Elisabetta Caffau and colleagues from the Observatoire de Paris and the European Southern Observatory. A single ordinary-looking star in the outer halo of our galaxy, carrying inside it the leftover chemistry of a galaxy that no longer exists, and possibly the fingerprint of one of the most violent events the universe can produce.